Welcome to Health, Wealth, Wisdom Parents Edition Super Summit. Your
Okay,
host
I
for
can
this
hear you.
session is Mindy Green. Mindy is a certified practitioner of the Parenting Blueprint, Parenting by Design, a program to help parents raise happy, healthy, and emotionally resilient kids. Welcome your super host, Mindy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final session of this evening for our Health, Wealth, and Wisdom Summit number 14, the Parents Edition. And I am honored to have Beverly Jensen here with me this evening, and she's going to be finishing us off with a conversation around protecting families in an electromagnetic world. And Beverly, thank you so much for joining us this evening and really sharing about this important topic that I think that as parents and just people in general, we really don't know a whole lot about. And I know that you have had a website that focuses on natural treatments and remedies, and also that you're trying to raise awareness on the massive impact of the electromagnetic field, that technology on children's development and well-being. So welcome here, and I'd love to find out a little bit more about you and what sparked your interest in this particular topic.
Um, well, I've been aware of the subject matter for forever, as my dad actually worked in developing satellite communication technology back in the 60s. So he made us aware of it. And I remember that warning when I bought the family's first cell phone in 1999 when my daughter was commuting on the Washington Beltway. And so I advised her not to put it against her head, not to wear it on her body, to keep conversations short, and just use it for emergencies. 'Cause this was why I was buying it. I was buying it for me, not for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then 20 years later, I forgot most of those rules as far as the safety of them when I sat next to a router for many hours every day for weeks, and became very sensitive to the radiation. And this is this is a common reason that people do become sensitive, is there's an extreme exposure. Either a bank of not cell phones, smart meters are put into the apartment building, or or there's too many electronic devices in their workplace. This can cause extreme exposure and therefore a sensitivity to it. So it became very personal then. Yeah,
Yes, I can understand why. So I
yeah.
know that you wanted to really give us some more information, things to consider as we are uh, to increase our awareness around the electromagnetic world. And I'm going to let you go ahead and share what you wanted to about this, because I think that this is something that needs to be in the forefront of all of our minds as parents,
Yeah.
trying to raise our kids and as healthy so that they grow into healthy young adults. So I'm going to
Yes.
pass the floor on to you.
Okay, all right, great, thanks. Well, as I said, my dad's work in we lived in Okinawa all through the 60s, and he was working for the US Army Signal Corps. And the tools in his workshop was an oscilloscope and a Geiger counter. He was measuring radiation. And whenever I wanted to visit the workshop, he would warn me that these devices, any device that sends radio signals and receives radio signals is dangerous, and to keep back and keep it turned off when you're not using it. We are all electrical beings. The brain and the heart emit electrical signals that conduct all the cells in the body, and so we are very much electrical beings. And there is radiation in nature, and it's very minimal. And scientists have estimated that the amount of radiation that we're subjected to now is 18 quintillion times more than was found in nature. And this doesn't agree with our body or any of nature. The animals, the insects, the birds, everyone on the planet is suffering from this. But if we keep these 2 points in mind, that the devices emit radiation and that we are electrical beings, then we're going to change how we work with and live with these devices. And that's something to always be keeping in mind. We're not going to put it against our head. We're not going to put it in the breast pocket of our jacket next to the heart. We're not going to put it in the pants. It causes infertility for men and women, putting it in their jeans pocket, in the back of their pants. None of this works. So what are the health impacts? I can't go into too many of them, but there is a German university database that has over 40,000 studies. It's growing every week. So the last I saw was 42,000 studies that are being done globally on what's the effect of these devices and the towers. There's also the Bioinitiative organization. This was formed by the former Microsoft vice president in Canada, and in 2007 he organized scientists and physicians to do research and introduce this subject. These resources are in the ebook, which we will offer on this program, and it's free to download. So I've organized the health impacts by age group and what can you do to improve the situation. Early childhood is from in utero to age 5, and this does begin to affect the children in utero. The effects of exposure to I call it EMR, not EMF, electromagnetic radiation, in the early childhood area are heavily in the physical development, which at this stage of their life affects their cognitive development, the brain, affects language ability, attention spans, and emotional growth. At the top of the list in early childhood illnesses is autism and childhood leukemia. In the 1980s, when my kids were born, 1 in 10,000 children was autistic. Now it's 1 in 48 nationwide, and in California, it's 1 in 22. Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt has been helping to heal autistic kids since the late 90s, and he took measurements as to where the moms of autistic kids had been sleeping, and he found that the mothers of autistic children had 20 times the amount of radio frequency exposure as did those moms whose kids were normal. And the effect on the EMF is so severe that if the parents won't clear the EMF out of the house, he won't work with the patient. It's that severe, black and white. There was also a Danish study done of 13,000 pregnant women. Some used cell phones during pregnancy and some did not. And 6 years later, their scientists went to meet the children. And what they found was quite disturbing. The children whose moms had used a cell phone during the pregnancy had a 49% increase in behavioral problems, 35% increase in hyperactivity, 34% in peer-related problems, and 25% in emotional issues. In China, wearing a belly shield for the fetus is required when in public, and the police will check that you're wearing it too. There's been many other studies. Kaiser Permanente has done some that have found that in utero and newborns are most vulnerable to radio frequencies. The mother's whole body exposure to radiation during pregnancy has found the offspring, this was in the Kaiser studies, found that the offspring suffer hyperactivity, impaired memory, and behavioral problems. And studies of early childhood screen exposure has found delays in language development, difficulties with attention, reduced engagement in imaginative play. You may have seen some of these things. And how much time are infants and toddlers looking at screens? In the US, 1/2 of children under age 2 have daily screen time. The telecom industry calls these the shut-up toys. 1/3 of young children are spending 1/3 of children are spending more than 1 hour a day on screens. 11% more that are spending more than 2 hours a day, and 7% of the infants and toddlers are spending more than 4 hours. This is when it's just simply the babysitter. Pediatric associations worldwide have written repeatedly to the FCC and global agencies pleading for stricter safety standards for the kids' sake. And all these references to the science are on the website and in the ebook. Then we get to middle childhood, 6 to 12 years. In this stage, children begin to form a sense of self, a growing independence, and the development of the social skills necessary to form peer relationships. In 2015, 11% of 8-year-olds had cell phones. In 2021, 31% had cell phones. And cell phone and social media use can thwart building healthy friendships. Peer pressure reaches a whole new level. Cyberbullying can harm their emotional well-being and self-esteem. These middle childhood years should be of play that allow the children to grow into healthy, capable, functional adults. Instead, hours spent on cell phones and wireless tech deprive children of fundamental development through play and childhood exploration activities, free of worry and stress and social pressures found in an online world. But there's been pushback on this situation in the last 6 months. This is all very promising. Seeing the effects on their children, there's been a wave of parents, especially moms, pushing back to stop this tidal wave usurping childhood. 2 mums in the UK formed an Instagram group called Saving Childhood to reconstruct the kids' experiences in the middle years. In 2 months, 60,000 parents had joined the group. This was just last June. Another movement, Wait Until 8th, is calling on parents to not allow their children online access before 8th grade. Waiting can reduce social pressures and protect them from the distractions and dangers of uncontrolled internet access. So, and we come to the adolescent years. 8th grade happens. In 2018, 65% of teens surveyed said they wished they had better self-control of cell phone use and that they spent less time on them. These are the critical years of identity formation, emotional regulation, and learning to make life's decisions. The delay in giving a child a cell phone gives the child time to learn to process sensory input and learn to manage emotions such as anger and fear and stress. What they see on social media is often unrealistic portrayals of life, and this can affect feelings of self-worth and a negative body image. Since they're spending too many hours online and not in the company of others, feelings of loneliness and depression are not uncommon, especially among girls. And nobody is sleeping well, teens or adults, and this compounds all other health dimensions. Now, in the United States, it's the states themselves and school districts that are interrupting this technology deluge. Other countries have already pulled in the reins on wireless tech by age category or locations. But here's what's happening in the US. Over 40 states are suing Meta, Google, and other platforms for the poor mental health of the state's youth. Some school districts are suing the online platforms due to the heavy burden of mental health services required by the students. School districts in many states are banning access to cell phones from bell to bell during school hours because they are disruptive to learning. Virginia is at least one state that has instructed all school districts to develop a policy to control cell phones on campus. Interestingly, the radiation exposure of 30 plus phones in a classroom has to be causing physical harm to some students, and it's not being recognized by the schools. Sometimes they're just taking their phones or their devices and sticking them into their backpacks. Well, that can help, but it's not going to stop the radiation. So what parents need to do to reduce radiation exposure and online access? There are physical steps to reduce it and social behaviors to change. First step is to remove the router from the living room. I've never seen one. I think I've been in one home in which it wasn't in the living room right next to the TV. It should be in the least used room and shielded with aluminum screening material, which you can purchase for $10 at any hardware store. If you own your own home, get it wired with cable. Using Ethernet cords will dramatically reduce the radiation in the home. Put an automatic timer on the router so it turns off 1 hour before bedtime. And that can foil any attempts to use the internet at unauthorized times. Bedrooms are sanctuaries for sleep. There should be no electronic devices, no chargers, no phones on the nightstand. Get a battery-operated alarm clock. A smart TV, when off but plugged in, still emits high levels of radiation. I've measured them, and if it's plugged in, you're still getting the radiation levels, even if it's off. There are many other steps in the ebook offered here, but I want to focus on the social aspects of changing your children's behavior and your behavior. Many of us are addicted to our phones. Any question needs an immediate answer. We get a dopamine rush just like our children. Parents organizing a revolt to control cell phones are doing so on their own cell phones. So have a family conference on why and how to make changes in the use of cells. Decide on a family communications center where all cell phones will be kept in the house. No one walks around the house with their phone. Notifications are off. This is advised in every film, documentary ever made about social media. Turn notifications off. Contacts can be notified when you'll be online. Visitors to the house, all ages, are requested to put their cells and all wireless devices on airplane mode and leave them in the communication center. Even my 8-year-old grandchildren are having to ask their friends when they come over to leave their phones in the communication center. Meals together are times for sharing the day's news. No phones at the table or nearby. Talk to each other. Not sharing communication makes families vulnerable and weakened. The children experience self-discovery by talking and listening to their parents and their siblings. And again, bedrooms are sanctuaries for rest and recovery. Insomnia and sleep disorders are the foremost number one consequence of wireless tech. No gaming, no internet trolling at bedtime. If you've got the router turned off, that would preclude that. Children should be reading quietly or read to before sleep. No laptops playing lullabies that prevent all sleep. No devices, I call it bad panda, telling stories that will stop the children from sleeping. Spend time with your children and without a phone. On walks at the park, leave the phone at home. If you think that's impossible, at least have it on airplane mode when you're out. Parents must model what they ask of the child. Talk to the older children about the 10 challenges of being offline. This is going to be a new situation for parents and children. Strategize how to get friends to join this. There's a few studies, or not studies, but sort of experiments now of where a group of maybe 10 teenagers have all agreed they would go 1 month without a cell phone and see how it worked. And everybody was delighted and surprised at how comfortable it was to be without that phone. So one thing I ask people when I'm getting together with a small group of people I don't know, I will ask them, can we do a social experiment for our hour or two together? And can we put the phones on airplane mode and just be present for each other? That approach often works. And even if they hesitate initially, they find themselves swept into it and happy about it. So it works. It's a very easy, gentle way to suggest that there's another way to get together today. So thank you very much, and please take advantage of the ebook because it's got a whole lot more information.
Yes, I was going to ask you, that is your free, it's a free download that that you've provided. And so what will they find in it? Some of the what you've talked about tonight.
Yes, there's a whole lot more of the science,
Mm-hmm,
where these studies have been done, and
mm-hmm,
and a lot more about how you can protect yourself. One thing that I've discovered recently that I didn't say in the talk is if you are connected to a Wi-Fi at home or at work, you can put the phone on airplane mode, and you will still be able to get phone calls and messages. If you have to get something from cellular, then you'll need it on airplane. But most of the time, you can keep it on airplane mode on and Wi-Fi on, and it will reduce your radiation exposure from that phone by over 95%. I've measured this on several
wow.
people's phones. And
Okay.
most of us spend most of the time at home or at work or in
Mm-hmm,
places where we are connected to the Wi-Fi. So this
mm-hmm.
is quite a little coup to reduce the radiation. Now,
Yes.
a few friends have said that when they're trying to get information off cellular data, then they need to turn the airplane off. But most of the time, it works.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's a very helpful tip. And this is a really, I know that you just touched the surface of much of this because there's so much there that could be shared. So I want to thank you, Beverly, for sharing this. And I took some notes about the statistics, and I'm going to download the book or the ebook definitely so that I can have more information to share with my children as well about this. So thank you.
Yeah, depending on the age of your children, I really recommend, I think I say this in that ebook, that you watch either Generation Zapped or that film or the social media dilemma with older children.
Hmm.
These two documentaries are very easy ways for a family to start a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been marvelous what the results of the little experiments that have been done of groups of 10 children deciding they're not going to use cell phones. This was at great
Mm-hmm.
persuasion of the parents, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but that they're going to forego the cell phone for 1 month, and
Mm-hmm.
they go camping by themselves. I mean, they have a great time, and they pay more attention to each other. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the key is what the devices cause us to be spending so much time with these, friends that we never meet,
Mm-hmm.
and it overrides the people right in front of us. So
Yes. So be
yeah,
present and unplug.
present and unplugged is a good way to put it. Yeah, thank you very
Great.
much.
Well, thank you, Beverly. And we are coming to the end of our time. If you haven't already done so, download Beverly's ebook. It was in the chat there, so you can find it. And if you haven't already upgraded to VIP, please do that because there are all kinds of gifts that you'll have in addition to the free gifts that are being shared here. And also, just one last plug for the Parenting Owner's Manual. It has recently been released, and you can use the QR code or our wonderful Tech has put that into the chat there so that you can order your copy of that. And again, Beverly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us this evening. It was very informative, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here. Delighted to be here.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
And that's a wrap for us, Mark.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session from the Health, Wealth, and Wisdom Parents Edition. For the recordings of all sessions, plus an amazing VIP bundle, upgrade to VIP now. If you run into any problems during the summit, email our support team at admin@rolemodelmaker.com. Stay tuned, we have another fantastic guest coming right up.